Many people believe that civilization got its start in the Mediterranean. And with civilization came culture, and with culture came cuisine. And the Mediterranean is a pretty rich area as far as cuisine is concerned. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the Mediterranean through a number of different spice mixes. So over here is a Moroccan spice mix called Ras El Hanout. It translates as top of the shop. And when you go into the spice market, that is what the spice merchant is trying to sell you, because he wants to impress you with how great his wares are. Authentic versions of Ras El Hanout may have as many as 30 different spices in there, some of which you might consider to be poisonous, like belladonna. There's insects sometimes included, like Spanish fly, and the list goes on and on and on. But what you take away from a spice mix like Ras El Hanout is a wonderful, rich complexity that speaks to the spices that have made their way from the Middle East by camel caravan all the way to Morocco. Right next door is a chili pepper paste called harissa. This comes from North Africa around Tunisia, and I think of Tunisia as ground zero for spicy food. Just about the time Columbus was making his way to America and bringing chilies home, the Spaniards won their independence from the Moors, and there was a big exodus of people from Spain to Tunisia. They took with them the brand new chilies, and this chili paste, harissa, has garlic in it, it has lemon, it has caraway, and it is pretty spicy, but we're going to use it to make some dishes a little bit later on. Right next door, another Tunisian concoction. This is called tabil, which translates as spice, and it has some turmeric that gives it a yellow color, and a lot of the exotic spices that would ordinarily make their way into curry powder. I don't think you'd go too far afield or too far amiss if you used curry powder as a stand-in for tabil. This is a vinaigrette known as charmoula. You'll see this in North Africa, in Morocco and Tunisia both. It is a vinaigrette that's thick with parsley and cilantro, but in terms of spices, there is paprika and cumin. This is an all-purpose marinade and dressing. You'll see it marinating fish that are going on the grill. You'll see it on lamb. You'll see it on vegetables. You'll see it on vegetable salads. As an example, I've got a recipe for Fatima's tiered salad, where cooked vegetables are dressed with charmoula and then stacked one on top of the other. First cucumber, then tomato, onion, beets, potato, hard-boiled egg, pepper, you name it. It's all stacked up and dressed with charmoula. These two spice mixtures right here are both from Egypt, and they're both used in exactly the same way. This one here is called duka, and it's a mixture of cumin, pepper, hazelnuts, sesame seeds. And this one, called za'atar, is wild thyme, sesame, and sumac. Now, in a country that doesn't consume alcohol for religious reasons, you won't have vinegar, because alcohol is a precursor of vinegar. So finding ways to make your food spicy and sour is a big challenge. What they do in Egypt and Eastern Mediterranean is they use the sour spice sumac to make food sour in the absence of vinegar. Also in the absence of lemon juice, because lemons are a seasonal crop. The thing to be careful of, don't go out into your backyard and pick poison sumac and try and use it. Instead, go to a Mediterranean grocery and buy the powdered sumac they have there. In both cases, whether it's duka or za'atar, what you will see them do at the table is dip a piece of bread first into olive oil and then into this spice mix, and then they'll taste it. It's really delicious. Finally, I have a spice mixture here from Turkey. This is called baharat. It has easily 8 or 10 spices. We'll deal with this in a little bit. We're going to put it on lamb, and that's exactly how they use it in Turkey. Sometimes it goes on a leg of lamb that's going to be roasted on a spit. Other times the lamb is cut up and turned into kebabs, but baharat is never far away. So, a quick tour around the Mediterranean through one spice mixture after another. Well, it's not exactly a spice. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about lemons and how they're used in the Mediterranean, especially the Eastern Mediterranean and North Africa. As I said already, lemons are a seasonal crop. So how do you make them last beyond their season? They have a great technique in the Mediterranean for preserving lemons, where they take a lemon like this and they just cut it into quarters and they leave it attached. And they pack it with salt, and they take those lemons and pack them into a non-reactive jar like this one. Then you make a brine, 1 part salt to 2 parts water, and when it's boiling, you pour it over the top, seal it, and set it aside at room temperature for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, here's what happens. All of the bitterness comes out of the rind. The flesh peels easily away from the rind. And when you look at the rind, there should be no chalky whiteness. It should be all translucent. You can use this in preparations all year long. They last easily for a year in your refrigerator once they're cured completely. In this dish that we're going to make next, a bread salad called fattoush from the Eastern Mediterranean, I'm not going to use preserved lemons, but instead I'm going to use fresh lemons and the sumac that we talked about a little bit before. This sumac has kind of a sour flavor profile. It's great in marinades for meat. It's almost like getting a little bit of lemon and at the same time sort of an herbal flavor besides. So we're going to use those two things in tandem. Let me show you how this salad's going to come together. I have some arugula, any kind of green you have on hand, but a full flavored green I think is appropriate. And to it, I'm going to add toasted pita chips. I'm just going to crush them up a little bit so that they're not so large. Usually I take pita, stale pita, and I drizzle it with olive oil, and I put it in the oven and I toast it. You can put some sumac on there if you like, or salt and pepper. We'll start the process of seasoning this. So in goes a good 3-finger pinch or 2 of sumac. And we'll set that off to the side. I'm going to make a quick dressing. Vinaigrettes are easy things to do. This is going to have some garlic in it, quite a bit of garlic. And it's going to have 1 part acid, in this case lemon juice, and 3 parts oil. This is a really punchy olive oil. And then we should make sure that that gets seasoned with salt and a little bit of pepper. Now, with the dressing made, we are almost done here. I'm going to crack up some of these big pieces of bread, and then we're going to add diced tomatoes, juice and all. We're going to add cucumbers that have been diced up. I've got some green onions that we'll add. Here I have a really interesting green that I want to share with you. This is called purslane, and it grows all around the Mediterranean. Here in California, it grows in the garden like a weed. What purslane has going for it is that it eats almost like a succulent. It's a little bit lemony, and if you were to look it up in a nutritional almanac, what they would tell you is that purslane has the same omega-3 oils that you'll find in wild salmon. It's one of the few vegetable sources of omega-3 oils. All right, and then finally some parsley and a lot of chopped mint. We'll add the dressing. And we'll toss this salad real quick. This actually gets better if it can sit for a while, because what happens is the vegetables bleed out a certain amount of water, vegetable water that has great flavor. That mingles with the dressing, the olive oil, the lemon, the garlic, and then it's absorbed by the bread, and the bread softens just a little bit. Now, inasmuch as we want this salad to taste of sumac, I'm going to add even a little bit more. I don't think we need to be shy with it. It's not sharp the way that lemon is sharp. It has a very, very pleasant acidity. And we'll gather this up, put it into a bowl, and if it has to sit for a half an hour or so, it really won't hurt this salad at all. There you have it. That's fattoush, and it's made sour with sumac from the Mediterranean. In Tunisia, they make a wonderful salad called meshouya. It's a shepherd's salad, and what the shepherds would do is they would take vegetables like this and they would roast them in the dying embers at the edge of the fire, and then peel away the worst of the black, chop it up, season it with harissa, olive oil, lemon, and capers, and that would be their salad. I'm going to make that, and then I'm going to make a variation, and then another variation on the theme. So let's get started. Here's the tomatoes. I want to peel away the worst of the black, and then take the core, get rid of that. I'm going to open this tomato up. We'll leave behind some of the seeds. And then we want to chop this vegetable up. I also have some peppers that were roasted over an open flame. Likely you've done that before. And once they were charred on the outside, the skin was peeled away, and they're ready to be chopped up as well. I'm going to take the seeds out. And we'll stack those up, and again, they just need to be diced. Now, so that there's some visual interest, in addition to red peppers and red tomatoes, I've got some beautiful green peppers. If you've got a poblano pepper that tends to be a little bit spicier, I think that would be entirely appropriate. But let's take the core out. We'll open this up. If there's a little bit of extra skin charred, it's not the end of the world. And okay, it took a little time, but we've got all of the vegetables peeled and cut up, and we're just about to build our shepherd's salad, the meshouya. All right. Now, one word of caution. Don't throw this liquid away. We're going to use that. So just hold on to it. You can set it aside for right now, and I will do the same. Put it right back here. And here is our salad. So I want to flavor this with some garlic. We'll put the garlic in. And tabil is sort of an exotic spice mix from Tunisia. It's got turmeric, it's got coriander, it's got some sweet spices, it's got cumin in there. And we'll add the tabil as well. Here is some harissa. This is the spice paste from Tunisia. And harissa is pretty fiery, so make sure you know how hot it is before you spoon it in there. Otherwise, you may regret it. I've got a little bit of mint here. And mint, just so that you're aware of it, if you chop it too aggressively, it will turn black. That's the nature of it. So usually I gather the leaves together and I just cut through it one time. I cut it into ribbons known as a chiffonade. And that way, it will hold on to its green color without turning black. We'll throw that in. I already introduced you to preserved lemons. There is one piece of preserved lemon, and here another. I'm going to rinse it quickly. As you can imagine, it's fairly salty, so rinse it, and then when you cut it up in very small pieces. You don't want to get a big piece of preserved lemon. Cut it very, very thin, and add the preserved lemon before you add any salt to the salad, because there's a good deal of salt that goes along with preserved lemon. There we are. The only thing missing from this salad at this point is dressing. And the dressing that I'm going to add has capers. I'll put capers in there. Likewise, I'm going to put some olive oil. And we've got the preserved lemon, but just a splash of vinegar. Salt. A light hand on salt. As I said, the preserved lemon and the capers both are very, very salty, so just be careful that you don't overdo it. Here's what I'm looking for. All right, so this salad is done. I'm going to put a little bit here. In the Mediterranean, this would be part of a selection of small dishes that they begin a meal with called meze. This would be a salad, and I'll set that right there. Now, I'm going to take the balance of this, and into it I'm going to add chopped olives, both green and black. So in effect, I'm going to enrich this salad a little bit. I'm going to add some diced cheese. This is Gruyere. Edam is pretty good. Any firm cheese is good. And then a few caraway seeds as well. And I'm going to add some tuna. And again, we'll stir this up. This has the additional savory flavor of the tuna and the cheese, the olives. It's more colorful. And we're going to turn that into a bread salad. You remember these juices we had before, these vegetable juices. They are too tasty to throw away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to punch them up with a little bit of harissa so that they have some spice. And I'm going to add some vinegar. And I'm going to add some olive oil. Basically, I turned this into a little dressing, a little bit of vinaigrette. And we're going to use this vinaigrette to soak into some bread. I've got some slices of bread here. This is just a baguette. It's a little bit stale, so just put them right in there and let them soak up that delicious liquid. Then we'll turn them over. You know, if you've got 5 or 10 minutes to let them sit in that liquid, so much the better. But we're going to move this over to a platter. And this is going to be a Tunisian bread salad that is called blanquette. We've done many conferences here, Mediterranean conferences, and this is a showstopper, this dish. Don't ever think that it's meant to be eaten on these toasts. You need to move it from the plate with a fork and spoon because it gets a little bit dicey. And you take this mixture, which is the enriched version of the shepherd's salad, and you put it right on top of the bread. And as it bleeds out flavorful liquid, the bread is there to absorb it. And this is known as blanquette. It's known as a Tunisian bread salad. It's really, really delicious. And it can sit for an hour or two. It just seems to get better and better. The bread after some time will get soft, so you have to be a little bit careful when you move it from the platter to the plate. And the last thing that I would do once it's all made is probably anoint it with a little bit more olive oil. So I'm going to set that aside. We'll drizzle on a little bit of olive oil. And then I can't bear the thought of leaving this liquid behind. So I'm going to add that to the platter and hope that the bread just drinks it up. All right, so there's a second dish. The Tunisian bread salad, blanquette. We'll put that over here. And then finally, what I want to do is make a sandwich. And I've got a baguette here. This is the kind of sandwich that you will see in the markets in Tunis. They take a bread and they open it up. And just the way you might have seen it in New Orleans, they take a relish like this and they put it right on the bread. So the same shepherd's salad gets added to bread. And then typically they give you some options, but I'm going to put some carrot salad as well. This is carrots with lemon juice, garlic, harissa, and caraway. A little bit more tuna. You know, the Mediterranean between Tunisia and Sicily is kind of ground zero for tuna fishery. And everywhere you go, you find lots and lots of tuna. And then, interestingly enough, they put potato on this sandwich as well. And a few hard-boiled eggs. And just to make room for all of it, I'm going to cut the insides of this bread out. We'll put the lid on, and I would even press it a little bit, get the juices in this salad flowing down into the bread, moistening this sandwich. And we'll move this to the plate, get things cleaned up. And just a few olives and some hard-boiled eggs and a couple of hot chilies. And this Tunisian market sandwich is ready to go as well. 3 separate dishes. Each of them has harissa, each of them has preserved lemon, and each of them, I can guarantee you, is really delicious. I don't need to tell you how to grill lamb. It's a pretty easy thing to do if you have lamb and if you have a grill. But what I can help you with is leveraging some information about spices from the Mediterranean to create a really fun party. I've got some lamb kebabs here. The ones that I'm taking off right now, these are from Spain. Now, Spanish lamb kebabs with saffron, garlic. I have Spanish paprika and a little bit of cayenne, and then right in the middle, some of the exotic spices that make up curry powder. This is a throwback to the time when the Moors were in Spain and they brought their appreciation of exotic spices with them. Here, I've got an Italian variation. These are lamb kebabs that are skewered on rosemary, and it's flavoring the meat from the inside out. I put some black pepper and some garlic on there as well, and those are delicious just the way they are. Right next door, I've got some lamb kebabs that really taste as though they came from Greece. I put some dill on there, I put garlic, lemon, and black pepper, and I grilled them until they were medium rare. Don't forget to anoint them with olive oil because olive oil is an important part of the Mediterranean. And then finally here, I've got some kebabs that are done exactly the way you might expect to see them in Turkey. Remember I showed you earlier baharat. That is the go-to spice mix in Turkey for lamb. Here's some of what you will see in baharat. There is cinnamon and nutmeg, there's ground cumin, and then the rest of the spices that go in there really are the spices that we put into a pickling spice. I'm seeing bay leaf, allspice, cloves, I'm seeing coriander seed, and some few mustard seed. All of that mixed together gives you the wonderful spice that is baharat. Now, I'm going to take these. We'll tuck a little bit of parsley in here. I'm going to sprinkle some around as well. As I said, olive oil is an important part of the game, not just before cooking, but after cooking as well. And I think it's a nice idea to squeeze some lemon juice over the whole thing. All right, so there you have it. A party from the Mediterranean based on the spice profile. It wouldn't be a bad idea when the meal was all over to reach for a treat that you might find in Tunisia, which is mint tea. Green tea with mint leaves that's steeped and sweetened pretty heavily, but it's really, really delicious. For an extra treat, sometimes I float just a few toasted pine nuts on the top of this, and as you sip it, you can take a pine nut into your mouth and enjoy the flavor, and then go back for more mint tea. I hope you enjoy these ideas.